Can the Wing Gundam Fenice take on the undefeated Qubeley Papillon? Find out in my review of Gundam Build Fighters, Episode 20. Let's face it, guys, we all knew how this battle this week was going to end. The epic confrontation between the Italian dandy Riccardo Fellini and Ayla Jyrkiäinen was definitely a great fight, but Ayla was going to defeat him, and that's only evident because since the very first intro of the series, they've been building up Ayla's character, and over the course of the last, 10 episodes or so, her relationship has become a lot more interesting with Reiji, and that comes to a boiling point at the end of this episode. However, there's a lot of build-up to the battle, and a lot of really funny stuff that Gundam fans are going to appreciate. But before I get to that, first and foremost, the team that Ayla is working with, Team Nemesis, they have one of the most petty excuses for wanting Ayla to be in this tournament, and that's that the president of this place essentially wants to win a trophy for his grandson. That's it. There's no bigger ulterior motive to this, and you can definitely see this sort of takes the wind out of the sails of Ayla while she's battling, and she's also incredibly distracted because if she actually wins her battle against Riccardo Fellini, she's going to have to go up against Reiji, and we all know how that's going to end. In terms of funny stuff this week, there was a lot of that, especially in the first half of the episode. Gundam fans are going to love this one. There's this scene where Nils is actually hanging out with Reiji and Sei, and he's trying to use hypnotherapy on them to learn a little bit more about the Plavsky particles. And he thinks that Sei might actually know something because Sei's father was involved with the creation of the Gunpla system in some way, and maybe he was there as a child and saw something, and maybe he'll be able to awaken like a hidden memory. But all he actually ends up doing is sort of hypnotizing Sei into saying every single line that Amuro Ray said from the original Mobile Suit Gundam. The scene is hilarious because it immediately opens up with the very famous scene from Episode 9 of Mobile Suit Gundam where Noah Bright is slapping Amuro in the face constantly, and he's saying all of the dialogue, and even his animation and facial expressions are absolutely perfect. And apparently throughout the course of the episode, he actually said every single line from the entire 43-episode series. So that was very funny. But let's go ahead and get to the battle this week, which was very, very intense. First and foremost, the character of Kirara. She's a character who I think was going to start out as sort of like just a one-note filler character. She has evolved quite a bit as the series has gone on as well, and she actually supports Riccardo in this battle quite a bit, which starts out very interesting. Now, we finally get the first secret to how Ayla's main weapons work, and it's always been hinted at that since she's using the Qubeley, she probably has the bits or the funnels, and she has been using those, but they've always been impossible to see, and that's because apparently they're invisible, and I'm guessing this is because they're made out of clear plastic, and that's genius. I mean, it's not against the rules to do that. As long as they can make it, they can use it. In the beginning of the battle, Ayla's actually very distracted because she just keeps thinking about the fact that she's going to have to fight against Reiji, and because of this, Riccardo is able to sort of take advantage of the first part of the fight. He's able to destroy her invisible funnels, which he finds out about, which, again, is very impressive on his part. And then eventually he actually gets the very first hit on Ayla in the entire tournament, so that's a pretty big deal. But this is when the president of Nemesis decides that something has to be done. He will not let his grandson be disappointed. So apparently there's a secret to that suit that Ayla is wearing, the one with the horns on the side and everything, and it has something to do with the embodied power. And basically, it just sort of turns her into this experimental human, kind of like we've seen in a lot of the other Gundam anime series. And this gives her a lot of power and puts her into psycho mode. And she's able to take advantage of the battle and then just destroy the Wing Gundam Fenice in a very violent fashion. At least as violent as Gundam models can be. And the scene is very intense because when she starts to win the battle, Riccardo realizes he's going to lose. And as he's being impaled on her giant, massive javelin, he starts to pull himself into her and starts to do his self-destruct. But then Kirara comes in and says that's no way to go out. I don't think the Italian dandy would want to go out like a bitch like that. You lose today, but you can still fight tomorrow. But even though the battle ends, Ayla is still going into this unconscious freak mode where she just continuously is stabbing the Wing Gundam Fenice. And then that's when they eventually call the match. It's all over. She still wins. And this leads to the big scene where Reiji actually figures out who this girl is. And that's because she falls over and a part of her helmet actually cracks. And Reiji sees that it is indeed Ayla, and he is pissed because he actually tried to intervene in this battle with the Gundam that he created, and she just took it out in one shot. And this is obvious, I knew that they were going to have some sort of confrontation where they were not going to like each other at first. It was just inevitable. I just didn't know how that was going to happen, and it's happening because of what she did to Riccardo, and he still doesn't know of what they're actually doing with the Embody system, so we're probably going to have to go through those typical couple of episodes where they avoid each other like the plague, but we know they're eventually going to get back together. But still, this was a very exciting episode with a lot of really cool action, tons of funny moments, too many to count, and that scene at the end was very intense, especially when Reiji decided to jump in and stop the fight. It was just a really great battle. I cannot wait to see what the confrontation between them is going to be. They've been building it up for quite some time. But at the end of the day, it still looks like it's going to be Kawaguchi against Sei and Reiji at the end of the day. Another thing that I really liked about this episode is that the characters of Mao and Nils are actually hanging around and hanging out with Sei and Reiji, and I like this. It sort of shows that they've become friends over the course of this entire arc, and it also gives an excuse to give them a little bit more character development, even though they've actually been defeated in the tournament. And I think that's something we can all appreciate from this series. Another thing that just made this episode great is I love the ability that everyone has to take all of this incredibly seriously. And I don't know, but it doesn't like go too overboard like G Gundam. It manages to find this middle ground. And again, I love the series. It's been one of my favorite Gundam anime of all time. It's easily in my top 3. It'd probably only be in any like anime fan's top 3 if they are a Gundam fan. Being a Gundam fan helps to enjoy this series because you're just the whole scene where Sei was like quoting Amuro and just the way his face looked and his expressions and the way they animated him was just so perfect and dead on that if you only watch the original series, which is old as fuck, by the way, 1979, you're going to see that. But still, it was a great homage. The battle was intense. I cannot wait to see what's going to happen with Ayla, so I'm going to give this episode a 10 out of 10. I absolutely loved it. As a Gundam fan, this is just pure mecha porn and awesomeness. So check it out. It's awesome. Great episode. So if you guys had a chance to check out this week's episode of Gundam Build Fighters, it's time to let me know what you thought about it. You can tell me with your comments below. Tell me about your favorite moments, maybe some stuff you didn't care for, and what do you think is going to happen in the epic confrontation between Reiji and Ayla. Remember guys, before you leave, make sure and hit that like button. Give this video a thumbs up. It really helps us out a lot, and you could subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. And speaking of subscribers, before me and Christian get into it, I just want to go ahead and thank you guys so much. We are now over 10,000 subscribers. We are now in the double digits, and we have a lot of really cool projects planned for the very near future, so stay tuned. It is just going to be a very fun 2014. The momentum is only building. So thank you guys again so much. I'll see you next time. Super Kami Guru 9000. Out.